We are continuing in the Psalms and the Christ. And we have already discussed 3 Psalms. This evening, we're going to be going to, we're going to Psalm 69. But first off, this is one of the things that we've been bringing up. Psalm 111 and verse 2, "The works of the Lord are great, studied by all who have pleasure in them." And as we have said before, the works of God go far beyond creation. Creation is astonishing. But what God does through His Christ for us goes beyond creation and shows the extraordinary love that He has. But this evening we're going to Psalm 69. Psalm 69, we're not going to cover the whole psalm because there's 36 verses in it. But in Psalm 69, we get insights into the thoughts of Christ, just like we have seen in Psalm 22, but we get insights that are there. I don't have a slide for this, but in just verse 1, "Save me, O God, for the waters have come up to my neck." Here is this poetic language of save me because things are becoming dire. The water is coming up to my neck. I sink in deep mire where there is no standing. I have come into deep water where the floods overflow me. I am weary with my crying. My throat is dry. My eyes fail while I wait for my God. Now that's very similar to the language we have back in Psalm 22. Where He says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And then goes into the various things such as, "From the words of my groaning, O my God, I cry in the daytime, but you do not hear, and in the night season, and am not silent." Here coming over to 69 and verse 3, "I'm weary with my crying, my throat is dry, my eyes fail while I wait for my God." Now, we're going to begin in verse 6 and go to verse 12 this evening. That's where we're going to be focusing our study now, at this point. Okay, so we have verse 6. "Let not those," and here is the insights into Jesus' thoughts. This is a conscientiousness. This is showing us that He does not want to fail, which means that He could have. It does mean that. It means that He is considering the fact that He could fail God, but He doesn't. All right, so "Let not those who wait on you or wait for you, O Lord God of hosts, be ashamed because of me." Now, were there those waiting on the Messiah, waiting on the Christ? Yes, they were. And He was the solution. There were plenty who knew that He was going to arrive. They knew He was going to, at some point in time, was going to be upon this earth. And the Jewish nation collectively had been waiting on Him. And there would have been those, just as a side point, there would have been those that had lived their life centuries beforehand, waiting on Him, now in the Hadean realm. All right, and it still required Him to save them. All right, their sins could not be taken care of without Christ dying on the cross. Couldn't be, and nobody could. But "let not those who wait for you, O Lord God of hosts, be ashamed because of me." Now we have that parallelism. "Let not those who seek you be confounded because of me, O God of Israel." He does not want to fail God. He does not want to fail humanity. He wants to do His duty fully. He wants to do His duty properly. He needs to, and this is a conscientiousness. This is Him having His duty foremost in His mind, because He was here for a reason. And I might add, we're here for a reason. But He had this, He knew He is the one to do this task. No one else can do it. No one can do it. We would be completely lost without Him. And He does not want to fail. He wants to be the solution, not part of the problem. All right? When you have one solution and that solution fails, you don't have a solution anymore. And He knows it. He knows it. Now, do I believe that Jesus was perfect? I know He was. Yeah. Tempted in every way like we are, yet without sin. Tempted in every way. And Satan put it as a special task to go after Christ in as many ways as he possibly could, because he wanted Christ to fail, because he knew, going all the way back to Genesis chapter 3 and verse 15, he knew that here was the one that was going to defeat him and sin. All right. Here was his defeat. This is the one that was going to crush Satan's head, and Satan very well knew it. Very well knew it. And he needs him to fail. And Jesus is put to the test, and we have read from places such as Psalm 22. We can go to other places as well. We can go to Isaiah 53. We could go into the Gospels and look to see where Christ is put under extraordinary strain and pressure. If a trial doesn't bring about some kind of emotional stress, it's not a trial. If a trial is nothing but a cakewalk, it's not a trial. It's a cakewalk. Trials are meant to put us into, like tempering metal, tempering steel. It's making us stronger. Now, we can, in our own choosing, make ourselves weaker. But under the pressure and in all that goes into a trial, we can become stronger people getting through it. And that's exactly what Jesus is going to have to do throughout his life here on this earth. That's precisely what he's going to have to do. And he does not want to be a failure, which says to me, this is his thinking. This is, like I said, first and foremost in his mind. This is what concerns him. He is the Christ. He knows he's the Christ. He knows everything. Everything rests on him, on his shoulders, and he's got to do it. And he doesn't want to fail in any way. He wants to do it exactly as it is intended and designed to do. Now, verse 7. Because for your sake I have borne reproach. Shame has covered my face. Now, here, he knows. He knows. He would know Isaiah 53. He would know other scripture concerning him. That Isaiah 53 and verse 10, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, that he knows, for your sake I have borne reproach. And he's going to say a few more things concerning this reproach and this connection to Jehovah. And it has to do with the enemies of Jehovah. But he knows why this is happening, and he knows it's not going to stop while he's on making his way up to the cross. It's not. Now, after the cross, everything changes, as we saw in Psalm 22. After the cross, everything changes entirely. Now, I have become a stranger to my brothers and an alien to my mother's children. This is literally true. This is not poetic. This is not figurative. This is absolutely true. John 7:5, for even his brothers did not believe him, and they did not believe he was the Christ until after the resurrection. Then they believed. Then it was more than apparent that he is the Christ. But the one that they grew up with, this would be their older brother, the one that they grew up with, that suddenly realizing that he's going around and there's a lot of things being said about him, a lot of things being done that some they may have seen, some they would not have seen, but they did not believe him. His brothers did not believe that he was the Christ. And here is saying he's a stranger to them. He's an alien to his siblings. They do not believe in him. And it would be easy for the people of Nazareth to go to one of his brothers and say, what do you think? What's the deal with Jesus? What do you think? And whereupon the answer would be, yeah, he's not who you think who some think he is. He's not. They did not help. And here, this reproach that we see in this falls even to that of his own family. Now, his mother, that's a different story altogether. But his brothers, they will have nothing to do with this idea that he's the Christ. Now, we come to this idea of reproach again. This first part we see in John 2:17, where the disciples actually pick up on this themselves. Because zeal for your house has eaten me up. First phrase, first part of this verse. And the reproaches of those who reproach you have fallen on me. All right, so John 2:17, this first part, zeal for your house, John 2:17, he clears out the temple. He goes in. There's all this corruption that has been going on. Now we can look going back to the days of Eli, where you have Hophni and Phinehas, who are priests under Eli the high priest, and they are abusing their position. They're making the service to God, doing the basic sacrifices that must be done, they're making it into their own personal, their way of gain. They're dressed as priests, but they're just a couple of thugs. And you have to deal with those thugs. And as someone who must bring sacrifices and offerings to the tabernacle, you've got to deal with them. And would that be a joy? No, it wouldn't be. That would be something that you would dread having to do. In basic worship and service to God, these basic offerings that are demanded by God are being, the whole thing is being turned on its head to where people would not want to have to deal with them in order to serve God. And so, when Jesus goes into the temple has become a marketplace. That's what it's become. It's become a place where you have money changers. Well, why would you have money changers? It's simple. That the money that you bring, or whether it's a Roman coin or whatever country you came from, those are not, that's not the coin of the temple. You have to get the coin of the temple to make to give at the temple. You have to do that. You can't just put in something like a Roman coin. You can't put in something else that you have brought. They have to be exchanged. And guess who decides what the exchange rate is? It's the money changers. They're the ones that get to decide the rate. You don't get to decide the rate. No one else gets to decide the rate. They do, and they're making a tremendous amount of money off of it simply because you've got to give 1/10. You've got to, as a faithful Jew obeying the law of Moses, you've got to give 1/10. Therefore, it comes through them. And actually, with them in the way, you're going to be given more than 1/10. You're going to be given more than that. Now, he clears that out. They're not the only things in there that's going on. There's that of the selling of animals suitable for sacrifice, such as lambs and goats and oxen and the like. They have that of where they would sell those things at their prices, not regulated in any other way other than just what they have decided to sell. So Jesus goes into that temple and he clears it all out. And this is one of the few times, at least the few times ever recorded, where the disciples, they went to this verse because zeal for your house has eaten me up, and they understood what it meant. They got it, which is, that's pretty good that they did that. Now we come to this part, and the reproaches of those who reproach you have fallen on me. Well, this is quoted in Romans chapter 15 and verse 3, for even Christ did not please himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of those who reproached you fell on me. Christ did not please himself. Now we're just going to go back to this. We go back to this. He is not here to please himself. He has a duty in mind, and that's what he's going to do. It is the Father that has sent him, and he knows that. And who is going to be there for him through it all. But there's still going to be agony. There's still going to be extraordinary grief. It's going to be. That Jesus is not going to walk into this and there is no pain. There's going to be, he's well acquainted with grief. How does that happen except that he is seeing this on a very regular basis, to where even his own brothers will have nothing to do with it. They're also among the disbelievers. They're also among the what we would just call the blasphemers. Simply because they don't want to believe him. Now, we come back from this. Christ did not please himself. He was not here to take advantage. He was not here just to do what, just to be entertained or to do what he wanted to do. It was what the Father had sent him to do. But we have Psalm 2 and verse 2. Against the Lord and against his anointed. You have the rulers, you have the kings. They have come together against the Lord and against his anointed. That is, the reproaches of those who reproached you, Jehovah, have fallen on me. Because they are one and the same. Jehovah, they can't do anything to him physically. They can blaspheme. They can do that. They can do wickedness. They can do that. They can mock. They can do that. But they can do nothing physically to him. But with Jesus of Nazareth, they can. Because here you have God in the flesh. And they are against Jehovah and everything that he represents, which would also include, in a major sort of way, the Messiah, the Christ. So the reproaches of those who reproach you have fallen on me, and in a very physical way, to where everything that had been focused on God is now focused on Jesus. And they could put their hands on him, and they did. Now, we come to verse 10. When I wept and chastened my soul with fasting, that became my reproach. And we come to this, Psalm 22 and 2. Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but you do not hear, and in the night season, and am not silent. Here is this idea of weeping. And it's not just a one-time event there in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's not just a one-time event on the Mount of Olives. It's not that at all. And as we made mention in Psalm 22 and verse 2, I cry in the daytime and in the night season, that means he's done this on numerous occasions. This is more than just being there hours or minutes before he is being arrested. He's been doing this. And he says, chasten my soul with fasting. Of course, we can go to Matthew chapter 4 with that. That wouldn't be the only time that he was fasting, but that became my reproach. And he's dealing with this emotionally. Now we come to verse 11. I also made sackcloth my garment. I became a byword to them. All right, sackcloth. Yes, that is the clothing of grieving. That is this show, and it was that of great grief and distress. Something terrible has occurred, and they would rend their clothes, and they would dress in sackcloth and even sit in ashes. That extraordinary grief. And he is saying this is his garment. Now this would be a poetic thing, because we know that when they are casting lots for that tunic at the base of the cross, if it was sackcloth, they wouldn't care who got it. All right, but that tunic that was all in one piece, it's seamless. They want that, and therefore they're casting lots to see who gets it. But this is going right back into this weeping and chastening my soul and having this reproach. It doesn't leave. Literally, I'm always wearing sackcloth. I mean, figuratively, I should say. I'm always wearing sackcloth. This is daily for me. There's always something there. And I became a byword to them that, you know what? He still is. He still is. I hear it all the time. Someone cursing by his name. Someone using his name in what it would be a joking but blasphemous way. That his name is still a byword. It is. It should. Someone should come to a conclusion. Most don't. That how is it that people will use Jesus as a way, as an expletive, using Jesus in a way to exclaim something, to something surprises them, something that's makes them angry, and they will say his name. But there's nobody, and this may seem humorous to you, but there's nobody that blurts out Buddha. Nobody blurts out Muhammad as a curse word. Nobody. But they will him. And even those, mostly those who do not believe him at all, they will use his name. And his name is still a byword. Now that's astonishing that we have here. David writes this psalm, and this is saying a lot, even coming to this very day. That's knowing too much. That Jesus of Nazareth would go through all these things, including that detail. And it's still true to this day. And now he's about to show how extreme this is. But this sadness, and he's having to live with the humiliation. And we come to verse 12. This is how low it is. Those who sit in the gate speak against me. Why? That would be the important people, the important ones, those that sitting in the gate. Those are the prominent people of the city. They speak against me. And then now we go to the other side of that. And I am the song of the drunkards. That's how far it has gone. That is this whole idea of becoming a byword, that he is just has become a joke. He has become, that they have made just this mockery against him, that even the drunks are singing some kind of drunken song about him. Even they are doing it. And I take this as being, just another detail about things that were happening in the day. I take this as literally true. That is this is some of the things that was going on in his day. Now, this is as far as we're going to get for this evening. And this is exactly what I wanted us to look at. And there's more. There is more in this psalm, and there's more, obviously, to learn in all this. But I want us to gather these things. And just once again, make note that these things, these prophecies, if they're not really prophecies, they sure do get things right. And it's not just a fair percentage of things right. It's always 100%. I remember being in a discussion with a Jehovah's Witness and speaking about the fact that they predicted, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, whoever's in charge of it, they had predicted the end of the world at the early part of, I think it was 1918, is where they predicted the end of the world. And he said, he agreed that was wrong. And what he said, they got it wrong. He said, but what he said was, if I have a friend and he's 90% right, he's still my friend. And my thought about that is, if you have a prophet that's 90% right, you don't have a prophet. You have somebody that's gotten lucky 9 times out of 10, but I don't think the Jehovah's Witnesses have been 90% correct. I don't think they're anywhere close to that. Nowhere. But even if they are, there is no prophecy God has given that where one could say, okay, we're 90% there, we're not 100% there. No, it is 100%. And there's so many things to be found in the Old Testament regarding Christ, regarding the age of this final age of under the law of Christ, the age of His church, that every bit of it has come to pass and just ignored, as though it doesn't matter. Just ignored. And that goes back to reproach that still occurs today against Jehovah and His anointed. It's the same reproach. Can't put your hands on Him, but you can mock Him. You can ignore Him, but it is to your own detriment if you do. This evening, let's look at our lives. Strengthen our faith in knowing that this is, in fact, the Word of God. The more we learn, the greater we are to mature, our works maturing, spiritually growing, and always relying on Him. The Bible proves itself to be from God. It proves that. This evening, let's look at our lives. If you need to respond to the invitation, we ask that you come as we stand and sing.